So what do you know about social media?
Nothing.
I never considered social media have anything to do with romance.
I think it's important to stay connected with family and friends.
His social media consists of my copy and paste to an email and sending it to him when I see something I think he might find of interest.
Social media has a really negative connotation when it comes to relationships now because my ex downloaded an app to sext random people.
I think social media is never new ideas or new concepts, it's just new ways of doing things. So relationships aren't really that different, I think, in social media settings. They're just performed and enacted differently.
As much good with social media, there's just as much bad.
Social networking sites allow for constant interactions between an individual and the people they choose to establish an online relationship with through friends or followers. Since social media usage is pervasive in today's society, romantic relationships are inevitably affected.
We go out to dinner and young families are sitting around and every one of them has their phone. They're not talking. Every one of them has their phone and they're like this. Nobody's talking to each other.
I think that's hurting the younger generation. I mean,
Yeah, because they don't know how to talk. It seems like they,
you can have two people sitting across the room from each other, texting each other rather than looking up and saying, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?"
and
I don't get that part.
you see them out to dinner and everybody's sitting looking at their phone. They're not really interacting with one another. They're interacting with someone else while they're with you.
In the 2013 New York Times article, Social Media is a Romance Contraceptive, relationship coach David Wygant says to drop the smartphone. It's not making you smart, it's actually making you pretty dumb. And to sit in a restaurant and look around but don't read Facebook. Be present and smile at the people that are around you.
A lot of the times it's hard to resist the urge. If you're if you're with your friends or you're at dinner or something, sometimes it's your just natural instinct to check your phone to see what's going on, and that takes you away from who you're with and what you're doing.
Author Kim Stoltz, in a 2014 interview with Time magazine, states that there's been an emerging body of research that shows that when you stop having off-screen interaction, you lose empathy. You lose the ability to have genuine reactions to real problems and real things.
I was a freshman in college, right when we started our long distance pretty much. We were a couple months in when I started college. And so I had to be careful not to constantly be on my phone because then I wouldn't get to experience the life around me.
According to Der Ritter in the 2015 article, Youth and Intimate Media Cultures, Gender, Sexuality, Relationships, and Desire as Storytelling Practices in Social Networking Sites, intimate relationships are considered important to make public because intimate stories are markers of social success and popularity.
The relationship status aspect of Facebook is very interesting because I think it culturally has created an entirely new standard for declaring yourself. Before, you could say you're dating to your close friends and that's how they knew.
In their 2011 article titled The Role of Social Network Sites in Romantic Relationships, Effects on Jealousy and Relationship Happiness, Utz and Bokaboom state, studies have shown that people are more likely to experience increased satisfaction and happiness in their relationship if there are public displays of affection and a sign of commitment on their partner's social media accounts.
Because it can make you feel like your significant other wants everyone to know about you when they post about you and all of this.
According to a 2015 study conducted by Lenhart, Anderson, and Smith for the Pew Research Center, 59% of teens with relationship experience agree that social media makes them feel more connected to their significant other.
It's nice to be able to text people during the day and, post things to each other's Facebook wall and stuff like that.
Reed, Tolman, and Cipher would agree. In their 2015 article, Too Close for Comfort, Attachment Insecurity and Electronic Intrusion in College Students' Dating Relationships, they state that people use social networking sites to express feelings for their partner because the influx of likes and positive comments by their friends and followers grant a feeling of validity for the relationship. This in turn can make it stronger.
Sometimes it's cute, sometimes it's not cute. If it's too much, too many times, 5 times a day, it's probably too much.
In a 2012 interview for Mashable.com, Dr. Alexandra Samuels says she believes the internet sustains and builds relationships, but you have to be careful. You have to sit down and have a conversation about what you feel is private, what things about the relationship are okay to post.
So I think people should probably think about how they're using media and when it's appropriate to kind of express love and affection, and when that's something that would be better done face to face and say not in front of your 700 closest friends.
Like, girls love getting attention on Valentine's Day, and guys love giving attention to the girls that they love on Valentine's Day. And so when a girl posts like, oh my gosh, or it's usually Instagram, I think, like for Valentine's Day, like a post of like all the things, like a box of chocolates or whatever, it makes you like question whether like you're doing enough.
Unless there's a pressure with social media to perform displays of affection in different ways. Because if, you know, it's your anniversary and you don't post, or you don't have the, you know, obligatory picture of the roses come into your office, then, you know, you're kind of maybe opening yourself up to be judged.
Look how sweet her husband is. He sent her flowers and brought her candy. I didn't get nothing when it was my anniversary, you know.
I think it also makes you, as someone in a relationship, sometimes feel like maybe your relationship isn't living up to other people's expectations.
And then I feel all this immense pressure on myself because of all of the things I'm seeing on Facebook to lose weight, and that like society will like look down on you if you don't lose weight before your wedding.
I think it's really easy to make your relationship seem perfect on Facebook or on Instagram.
It allows for people to, like I mentioned before, hide behind this like we're perfect looking type of thing.
I think that we see a really rosy picture of human relationships that leave out all the mess and the disagreement and all the things that make it real.
In a 2015 article titled Romantic Breakups on Facebook, New Scales for Studying Post-Breakup Behaviors, Digital Distress, and Surveillance, Luckix and Chuan Haas state, Facebook complicates the termination of romantic relationships. There's an unnecessary pressure and distress when having to change one's relationship status from in a relationship to single.
I didn't want everyone being like, oh my god, I broke up, I'm so sorry. So I just like put it so that only I could see my relationship status. But then when I saw people all the time, they'd be like, oh, how's blah blah blah, and I'd be like, oh, we broke up. So it's like I had to tell everyone individually instead of just being able to like PSA single.
Yeah. If you don't hide your relationship status when you break up, I've seen many of times where like it'll be like so and so is like now single or broke up. I don't even know how it's
it says like blah 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 is single.
And someone will like it or love it, or they'll like one of their friends will be like, yeah man, like finally. And like, so it just, which makes things way worse.
It's like,
you
what
know?
happened?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God.
So that little like box that shows up that tells you, that's why I think it's good to hide it and tell people in person.
When you get to the point where you're divorced, you're angry a lot of times and upset, and you probably say things at that moment that maybe if you gave yourself a little time to heal, you wouldn't say those things.
Some of the things like breaking up or changing your relationship, some of them get a little bit too intimate. You know, some it's on a need-to-know basis, and you really don't need to know all of these details.
You know, and I've seen some friends who have posted like divorce announcements, and you can feel the, you know, angst for them is kind of magnified. Not only have they lost the significant other and are kind of, you know, reshaping their life outside of this, you know, relationship that was really paramount to their whole lifestyle, but they're also going through this publicly and in a space where, yeah, they posted all these like really positive pictures of their wedding and their honeymoon and their anniversaries and, you know, cute cats and kids and all that kind of stuff. So then to suddenly break up, it seems really jarring for all their viewers who are watching.
It draws everyone into like your relationship, and it like, without the couple in the relationship being able to have a say, it like makes all of these other people have an opinion about who they are as a couple and as individuals.
In a 2016 article titled The Online Ideal Persona versus the Jealousy Effect, 2 explanations of why selfies are associated with lower quality romantic relationships, Halpern, Katz, and Carroll state, conflict between partners can arise due to jealousy stemming from comments or likes on photos and other posts on social media.
It can also hurt a relationship because you can get jealous of someone liking someone's post or, stuff like that.
The prevalence of selfies is often criticized as a form of narcissism, self-absorption, and vanity. In their 2011 article, Millennials, Narcissism, and Social Networking, What Narcissists Do on Social Networking Sites and Why, Bergman, Farrington, Davenport, and Bergman state that it could be a way of using relationships to augment popularity and satisfy short-term needs.
Suddenly, if you are liking something or putting a winky face on a friend's selfie who might be of the opposite sex, it's not a thing that happens quickly and is forgotten, which is how flirting usually works, right? If you're in the coffee line. And it also is not just between you and that person. So suddenly you have opened yourself up and your partner to questions and prying eyes. People wondering well, why are you liking that picture when you're dating so-and-so?
According to the 2013 article, Facebook and Relationships, a study of how social media use is affecting long-term relationships, individuals with varying levels of Facebook usage were shown to have positive correlations with jealousy levels in their relationship, meaning that as Facebook use increased, jealousy also increased.
I think it can make you wonder what your significant other's relationship with that person is. Like if your significant other has told you oh, I don't talk to them anymore, I'm not friends with them anymore. But if they're liking your stuff or commenting on your stuff, it can make you question whether or not that's true.
I could understand if an old boyfriend commented, wow, she looks great, that it would or it could cause problems.
It makes you stop and think before you like something, is someone else going to have a adverse reaction to this?
At the end of the day, I think you have to trust your partner and, and communicate. So if you're seeing something on social media that's making you uncomfortable, ask your partner about it and vice versa.
In the 2013 Women's Health article, Don't Let Social Media Wreck Your Relationship, Gurin states one of the riskiest features of Facebook is that it makes it super easy to connect and communicate with an ex or old crush, which is why the common debate, can exes stay friends, is only amplified online.
Now with the miracle of Facebook and all these other social media, we all stay friends forever. And that means that people that you used to date or, have other intimate relationships with are always in your life for years and years and years. And if not in your life, they're on your Facebook feed. And so I think that can make things complicated.
It is difficult when you have an ex because you're kind of oh, let me just go on their Facebook and see what they're up to. And it's so I think just unhealthy to be able to do that.
You always wonder what your ex is doing and how they're doing, and so you can just go check their Facebook, and that's not really a healthy thing because that doesn't allow you to move on. If you always have instant access to some part of their life, then you're not moving on with yours.
My parents are divorced, and so my mom blocked my dad on Facebook so that she wouldn't have to see, because she was seeing all these posts and his comments and pictures, and she was it was just difficult because I was feeling that temptation to go on and see what he's up to, and I just would get even more upset.
In a 2014 article titled From Facebook to Cell Calls, Layers of Electronic Intimacy in College Students' Interpersonal Relationships, Yang, Brown, and Braun state that social media present the opportunity to background check potential romantic partners before a date or pursuing them. It can be tempting to measure incompatibility based on ideological conflicts or the disliking of posts seen on a potential partner's profile.
I think there is definitely the opportunity now to really check out people before you are in a relationship with them. I don't know that that's always the best bet though, because I think sometimes you meet people and you like them and you build a relationship with them, and then you find out things later that if you would have known that on date one, you might have run for the hills.
I guess it's really easy to go on Facebook and look at all their pictures and think that from that you know a lot about them. But I think just from Facebook alone, it doesn't really tell you a whole lot.
To have all the information about people at the beginning is not always the best idea, because it doesn't allow you to get that information in context. And I think sometimes the things that you can find out online aren't always the truth. I mean, it's not always the full picture.
It enables you to, in some instances, keep up with people that you wouldn't be able to keep up with without it. But you do get an overload of a lot of it.
You learn a lot about people in a click. So people tell you their religious affiliations, their political views, if they want kids, if they want to get married or never get married, where they want to live, how much money they make sometimes. I mean, you get everything. And it can be really tempting to create a checklist in your mind of the perfect partner that you want.
Everyone has so much access to like the perfect guy or the perfect girl on the internet, and so I think that for some people can make it hard to be content in a relationship.
I think those dating, like Match.com, and I think those have been beneficial to some, but maybe not everyone.
We're doing so much of our living online now. We're banking, we're shopping, we're virtually touring and visiting the Louvre and stuff. It makes sense that we're starting relationships online.
I don't use those dating apps because she gets mad.
I have a problem with him dating.
There's a difference between certain types of apps you use. Like there's some that are just meant for like people who are looking for more physical things. There are some that are meant for people who are actually looking to date each other.
A woman that's 35 and works every day and she's never been married, where does she go to meet a guy unless she goes to a bar and that's not her scene or the type of thing she wants to do? For church, I don't know where else you would go to meet people.
Callum Mazer, in the 2014 Huffington Post article, "This is How Technology is Affecting Your Relationship," states that dating apps and social networking sites help mobilize the LGBT community. 60% of LGBT young adults use social networking to find or create a community of similar people, and dating apps allow you to state who you're interested in, making it easier to connect with other LGBT individuals.
To start relationships in these spaces doesn't seem really any different to me than starting a relationship at your local church or your local watering hole or in class. It's just another kind of tool that's in our toolbox now when it comes to dating and meeting people.
In a 2015 article titled "Constant Connection as the Media Condition of Love, Where Bonds Become Bondage," Sue describes how constant connection contributes to a continual sense of togetherness. Partners have the ability to connect with each other in an intimate way no matter the time or space. There's potential to build intimacy and an emotional connection over text messages.
It's nice being able to just to text him and be able to be like, hey, where are you? What's up? Like, what are you doing? And sending each other pictures of like our cat and stuff like that.
My son was dating a girl and, would get all upset, tore up and beside himself over something that they're texting back and forth. I said, call her. Why, there's no emotion in a text.
I think it creates like an obligation. Like if someone who you're talking to or something texts you, you like feel obligated to respond to them even if you don't want to.
If you want to have a relationship with someone, you have to be able to communicate face to face, not button to button.
As we've seen, research makes a case for social media and portrays it in both a positive and negative light as it relates to romantic relationships. On one hand, it can be greatly beneficial to a couple's bond. Having the ability to contact one's partner with a click of a few buttons strengthens the relationship and promotes interconnectedness and unity. However, the jealousy and mistrust that arises due to certain controversial content posted on social media can cause distress within a relationship. Privacy and intimacy often take a backseat in the digital age. Everything's accessible online. Romantic relationships have evolved with the digital age, but our efforts must be focused on adapting to this new environment. If we learn to minimize the problems that arise with publicizing our relationships online and connecting with our partners on social media platforms, then relationship happiness may be attainable even in a world obsessed with social media.